Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews. We don't do unboxings, we might do a few playthroughs, but we generally like to talk a lot of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video we're going to be talking about a tile laying worker placement style game. We're going to be talking about Loot, and in this game you will be placing your Vikings out on the board, taking tiles and putting them on your player board, arranging them in such a way that it will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules, be telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Loot is worth your time and bother today and in the future. So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. We'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, Loot, how'd you play this game? So Loot is a tile laying kind of worker placement or token placement game. Every player is going to get a player board. You're going to arrange some tiles in a way that you see fit. You're going to populate them with watchtowers and castles and shit. Everyone's going to choose a colour, you'll get your components, and off you go. So in this game you're going to be taking 3 different types of actions. You're going to be taking mandatory actions, you're going to be taking conditional actions, or you might want to take optional actions. The mandatory action is place a Viking. Each turn you will have to take one of your Vikings and place it on the board. You place it on a resource space, you'll take that type of resource and place it in an empty space on your field or your player board, and then you'll check whether or not you've captured a building. If you captured a building, you put it on an empty space in your field, and you'll get points for different things to do with buildings, which we'll get onto in a little bit, right? Well, we're going to do it now. If you capture a house, you have to place your Viking adjacent to a house. You take a house tile and stick it on your field. If you capture a watchtower by chaining 2 watchtowers together, you'll take a watchtower and you put it on your player board. And if you capture a castle by having 4, 8 or 12 Vikings in a row from one castle going outwards, then you'll take a castle tile and guess what? You'll put it on your field. At the end of your turn you get the option of taking a longship. If you've got 3 resources that are adjacent to the longship on your field, then you'll get the benefit on the tile that you placed, yeah? Each player will have 3 different shields, yeah? You can flip these over for a one-time game breaking bonus, yeah? The first tile lets you place a second Viking. You can place your Viking on a resource space occupied by another Viking, because ordinarily you can't do this, right? And also when you place your Viking you get 2 resources instead of 1, yeah? So these are pretty handy, and you've got to be careful when you play them because you can only use them once. You can complete a construction site, yeah? Once you've placed all of the buildings or resources next to a construction site, then you get the points for it, yeah? And you can claim a trophy. You need a certain number of axes, and this is like an achievement type thing that's going to give you points, yeah? So once you have placed all of your Vikings, the game will end and you'll do a little bit of final scoring. You'll get points for your castles, you get points for your watchtowers, houses, gold, sheep and wood. You get victory points for your construction sites, you get victory points for your trophy, and finally you will lose 5 victory points for each longship that you didn't fill, and then the player with the most points will be the winner of Loot. What do we like about Loot? So the first thing that we like about this game is there are plenty of options to choose from, both on the main board and on your player board. Do you go for the buildings first, because that's where you're going to get the bulk of your points, or do you go for the resources to get onto your field pretty quickly, because those spaces on the main player board do fill up rather rapidly, right? You've got to be mindful about where you're going to place all the resources on your player board. Some of the placements that you might make rashly at the beginning of the game might come back to haunt you, because that's going to stop you from surrounding some of the spaces that you need to, right? So it is a little bit brain burnery for such a simple and abstract game, but that's a good thing, isn't it? So the next thing that we really like about it is that you don't really know who's won the game right until the last minute, yeah? Like a lot of these games, you're going to go through a little checklist of how many points you got, and then the final score will be revealed once you've done all that, yeah? So you're not really going to be sitting there thinking, well, Aunt Mabel has run away with the scoring this time. Never really know who's got the biggest dick until the end of the game. So the final thing that we really like about this game is that the price point is absolutely astonishing. I mean, this goes for 20 quid at retail, yeah? And it's just absolutely fucking mental how they can cram so much into a box and flog it for so little, yeah? So is this game worth the money? Yeah, of course it fucking is, yeah? When you've got games like Carcassonne now being sold for like 35 quid, you can pick this up for 20 quid, then it's fucking no-brainer, right? So don't we like about Loot? So the first thing that we don't like about Loot is that it is a little bit too abstract for my liking, yeah. The theme's a bit weird. It just doesn't feel like you're doing anything Viking related. I mean, why are you arranging Vikings in a long line from a castle? It just doesn't make any sense. And trying to join two watchtowers together, I mean, it's like an abstract thing they've chucked in just to find a mechanism to get you points, yeah. So yeah, some kind of like thematic add-on would have made this game a lot better. And like with a lot of these games, I'm not saying this is explicit to Loot, you could probably just like paste the theme on, couldn't you? So the second thing we didn't like about it is that the adjacency rules are limiting to the point where your starting position basically dictates how your game is going to go. You can't really sort of branch out anywhere. You're always going to be going from that first spot, trying to join watchtowers together, trying to get your line of Vikings from your castle to like 12 or whatever, depending on the way that the tiles are placed at the beginning of the game. This is going to force you into a cul-de-sac in terms of how the game's going to go. If you place your first Viking too close to another player, that's going to box you in, but maybe in not doing so, you're not going to have the resources that you need to get as far as you need to, right? So it's a little bit wonky in that respect. Having to place a Viking next to another Viking is a bit of a pain in the backside, but I'm not really sure how they could have sorted that out. So the final thing that we don't like about Loot is this game seems to fade pretty quickly in the latter stages of the game, because you're only going to have a couple of Vikings left and there's not really that many places to go. So you're just going to be thinking, well, I've done this, I've done that, I've surrounded that on my field, I'm just going to take a couple of resources and hope for the best, yeah? Feels like one of them films where it should have naturally ended at a certain point, but it keeps on going and you end up just staring into space for the last 15-20 minutes. So, to summarise, is Loot worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we're going to say maybe not, yeah. Loot is fine, yeah. It's a pretty decent game. It doesn't really break any new ground and can be frustrating due to the mandatory chaining of your Viking pieces together. It does offer some excellent choices in how to position your pieces and when to pull the trigger on certain combos. I do like this game. It's well worth the price of entry at 20 quid. It could be great, but it's lacking something that I can't quite put my finger on. So there you go, that is Loot. Remember, if you are new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. See you next time.